Mr. Transformers 96 here with another video. We're going to be talking about some newly shown stuff at New York Toy Fair 2020. This time we have, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but a Marvel Legends collection of X-Men movie figures after the entire franchise is over. Very surprised to actually be using those words. This is something I never expected to happen, although I've always hoped it would happen, and I have proof, because I've made one or two videos in the past talking about my dream X-Men movie wave, and I expressed in that video that I know that it was something that would never happen, but if it did happen, these are the figures I'd like to see, and the majority of the figures that I have in that ideal dream wave are actually here, so I'm shocked. I'm very excited. I'm very surprised that this is happening, and I assume the reason for this happening is the fact that, the reason that we never really had merchandise from the X-Men movies beforehand was because although Fox owned the rights to produce live-action X-Men films, Marvel still owned the merchandising rights for X-Men and really just all the other rights from X-Men. So that's why there was always a disconnect when it came to actual merchandise from the films. Now that, Disney has assumed Fox, that's no longer an issue, and even though the movies are done, they're making X-Men figures, which, man, I certainly can't complain about. Now, before I start with going over all of these, I do just want to say I'm unsure of how they're being released. Now, I don't know if the information for this has already come out and I just have not seen it yet, but I have not heard how these are being released with the exception of this Wolverine right here, which is going to be an Amazon exclusive figure. As far as the rest of these, I don't know if these are all kind of separate figures being released on their own, maybe some exclusive, some, widespread, or if this is actually going to be like an X-Men movie wave, or if it's going to be multiple waves, or how they're releasing it. I'd be very interested to see. And if they are releasing it as like a normal wave, I'll be really interested to see if it will include a Build-A-Figure and what that Build-A-Figure would be. The one that I picked as my dream Build-A-Figure from an X-Men movie wave is a Sentinel. And for the fact that the majority of the designs for these seem to be very Days of Future Past-like, I would think that would probably be the Build-A-Figure, to be honest. So, nonetheless, I'm hoping that it is like a full X-Men wave with the Build-A-Figure, but that might not be the case. These might be exclusives. I know for a fact this one is an exclusive, and you can pre-order it now, which, as soon as I'm done filming these Toy Fair videos, I will be pre-ordering it, just so you know. But let's get into it. Let's start. So now, I did just want to start off on Wolverine, however. It's not, I kind of want to go in order as far as the photos here. But starting off, we have Mystique. This is very exciting. This is obviously Mystique, full kind of unclothed look, which she donned in a few movies, but the most prominent movie where she had this look for the majority of the time was X-Men Days of Future Past, which is one of the reasons that I'm really thinking that this is very much an X-Men Days of Future Past style wave, because the majority of the costumes seem to be in that direction as well. But she looks really good. It's obviously a completely new figure with all of the kind of scale and detail work actually sculpted on the figure, none of its paint, which is awesome. I think that it looks great. My only issue with it is the face sculpt. I think the face sculpt's lacking a little bit. She looks a little bit more Rebecca Romaine rather than Jennifer Lawrence, and if this is, an X-Men Days of Future Past line, I would assume that they're going for Jennifer Lawrence, but it has a little bit more of a Rebecca Romaine look, even though I don't think it looks tremendously like either of them. But nonetheless, I think the figure itself looks really good, and the paint on the figure looks really solid. I must say, they really nailed her skin tone, and she has a very unique and interesting skin tone, so that's impressive. But overall, she looks great. It'll be really cool if she came with like an interchangeable arm that was like phasing into somebody else. That would be pretty neat, but I'm not expecting that. And then we have Professor Xavier. This is quite neat. It is kind of your standard suited figure. It looks like I don't see any real differences from your standard suited figure. The big difference is the fact that he has a full wheelchair, of course. And then what I absolutely love is the fact that you do get two versions of the head sculpts. I think this is incredibly smart. Now, if they wanted to make two figures and give us these head sculpts via two figures, they'd have my money. So, they could have easily done that and I would have been paying. But instead, they actually, allowed you to kind of switch between what you prefer with one figure purchase, which is quite nice. But you can go the younger version, more James McAvoy, or you can go the older version, Patrick Stewart. As far as James McAvoy, I don't think that it looks tremendously like him. I think that it does, I can kind of see it, but let me tell you, I can't see it much, to be quite honest, which is unfortunate, to be honest, because I really enjoy James McAvoy's performance as Professor X, and I'm really just not seeing it here too much. The wheelchair itself, I actually think looks really nice. There's a lot of detail for that wheelchair. I assume that if this is a wave, the wheelchair, being so large, will kind of void him from having a Build-A-Figure piece, I would assume. Who knows if this wave, if this is an actual wave, or if it'll have Build-A-Figure or anything like that, though. But overall, I think that he looks nice. I think that the blue is a little bright. However, that might be exaggerated due to the flash on the camera, so we'll have to see. I hope that it's like maybe slightly darker in person. But we do get a decent shot of the head sculpt here for Patrick Stewart, which I think looks really good. I actually think it looks like a really solid head sculpt. I might have a... Here you go. So here's the James McAvoy official image compared with the Patrick Stewart one. As you can see, I think the Patrick Stewart one looks a lot better. It very much looks like Patrick Stewart, and I think that it looks like it's sitting a little high here, but that's mainly the positioning of the actual joint. But I think that the sculpt itself is pretty solid. I do like it quite a bit. And then next up we have Magneto. There's the Ian McKellen head sculpt, which is on point. I'm really happy with this head sculpt. I know that we have the official images for him too. As you can see, like, solid head sculpt. That's really good. I like it quite a bit. This shot, it looks a little big on the body. However, I'm hoping that's not the case in person. But as far as the sculpt itself, the official image and the kind of in-person image, I think look really solid. I'm quite happy with it. Very nice. However, the, I almost want to say Matthew McConaughey. Oh man, I'm blanking on his name, unfortunately. I'm quite a fan of the actor, though, so that does bother me. But nonetheless, this head sculpt for the younger version of him, of course, yeah. Darn, I thought I had it for a second. I think it's quite disappointing. I always like figures with expression. However, I think that this figure just looks awful. I don't see it at all. I don't see the likeness to the actor one little bit, which is unfortunate. And I do like the fact that he has the helmet. You think that with the helmet on, it would allow them to be able to hide up some of the features, but it really doesn't. I think it looks terrible. Even in the official images, which is this way. It doesn't look any better. Really not a fan of it. I think it's a poor head sculpt. But body-wise, they're definitely going with the outfit from Days of Future Past, which I've never been a huge fan of his Days of Future Past outfit. Nonetheless, if the whole wave's Days of Future Past, that is kind of cool. So I do like it quite a bit. And it's, it's a generic Magneto outfit, so even though it may not work specifically well with Ian McKellen, I think that it still looks really good. I can kind of forgive that lack of accuracy. Okay, and then we get over to the Wolverines. Awesome Hugh Jackman, angry Wolverine, kind of screaming face sculpt. I think it looks great. Really cool. And it screams Hugh Jackman while screaming. It really does. I think that it just looks perfect. And then this one, the more confident, a little more of a smirk, I think also looks good. It doesn't look as good, though. I see less of Hugh Jackman in this face sculpt. Nonetheless, I do still think it looks nice. Sculpt-wise, on the body, I think this is the kind of leather jacket with the plaid shirt underneath. It looks quite nice. They've done a good job sculpting it. Pants are the same with both of them. It's interesting the way that they've kind of textured in the jeans look. It looks like they've done it mainly with paint without actually sculpting anything. I would have liked some texture sculpted because it does look a little cheap. It looks almost like a little splatter paint. Nonetheless, though, I think it looks like a good figure overall. I do think it looks good. Now, if you're just going for one Wolverine, though, I think that this would be the better version, in my opinion. I think the tank top is a more classic Wolverine style, and I think that the sculpt looks a little cleaner in general. I think that the necklace, although I like the fact that it looks like it's removable, it looks very bulky. I wish that was just sculpted on, and therefore they could do it thinner, or just, not included at all. But nonetheless, it's still cool. I do think it looks nice. And then he comes with not a screaming head sculpt, but an angry one. And it does look like from the hairstyles, even the standard one is different. It definitely is, because so you got, angry screaming, you have more, slight, more of a smirk, but still serious. And then you have very much serious, no smirk whatsoever. And then the hair is a little bit more your standard Wolverine style. And then he comes with the secondary head sculpt, which is angry, but not screaming. So I do actually like the different looks quite a bit, and the different hairstyles associated with those looks I think look quite good. This version does come with a set of bone claw hands as well, which I think is nice. And then moving on to the Deadpool figures. Now, I'm unsure of how these are being released. If this is going to be a Deadpool movie wave, if that's the case, Juggernaut all the way as the Build-A-Figure, that would be super cool. So we'll have to see. I think that both of these waves have a perfect Build-A-Figure, so I'm hoping that they are actual waves and not just like individual figures. But we'll see. Overall, I think that this Cable looks quite good. I do think that you definitely see some Jeff Brolin in the face sculpt here. I think that it does definitely, you can definitely, tell it is him. It's not perfect, but I do think it's good. I think they've done the hair quite nicely. The sculpt on the entire figure, though, is great. 100% a new sculpt. The mechanic arm looks awesome, and he's got quite a bit of bulk to him, which looks great. Then we have Negasonic Teenage Mutant Warhead, something like that, name that's too long. Overall, I think that she looks okay. Face sculpt on her is fine. It's very much Deadpool 2. It's not her kind of Deadpool 1 type of look, which, it's interesting because they seem to be committing to a specific movie with both of these waves. Deadpool 2 as well as X-Men Days of Future Past, so I'm kind of liking that. But overall, she comes with your standard kind of effect pieces as well. She looks okay. She's the weak link, though. She's the one that I don't think anybody really wanted a figure of, to be honest. He's just not one that I'd love. I think that Colossus is very much needed for the wave. I wouldn't hate it if Colossus is the Build-A-Figure, but I want Juggernaut so much more than I want Colossus, and he's so much more fitted for a Build-A-Figure that I'd much prefer that Colossus was just in the wave and Juggernaut was the Build-A-Figure. But I could see them making Colossus the Build-A-Figure if this is a wave. But overall, she looks good. Deadpool looks awesome. I think that they've really nailed the look of him, giving it very much a movie look and not the comic look. It's very recognizable when you take a look at this figure compared to the comic figures. They're very different, although they have very much a similar style. I think he looks very nice. I'll be interested to see what type of accessories he comes with. I'm hoping for a couple additional head sculpts, an unmasked one, maybe a partial unmasked one, one with some wacky style eyes, and maybe where you can kind of see the stretches in the mouthpiece like he's talking. I think that they could do some fun stuff. They always do some great head sculpts with the comic ones, so I'm hoping that they don't fail us here with this one, and they do that with the movie one as well. But great looking figure overall. Really nice. Then we have Zazie Beetz as Domino, looking good as well. I think face sculpt's okay. I think that her jaw is a little bit larger, and chin is a little bit larger than in person, so I'd like to see that be fixed a little bit. What are you going to do, though? It's an okay sculpt. Figure-wise, a great figure. I mean, it's completely new sculpted. I'm not big enough. I like Zazie Beetz quite a bit, but Domino isn't a character that I loved, so I'm not needing this one desperately. But nonetheless, it's cool to get it. I find it very interesting that they're doing a whole Deadpool wave. I think just Deadpool alone would be sufficient. Cable was cool too, and then Colossus is neat. Negasonic Teenage Warhead Mutant whatever, and Domino I don't think are super necessary, but nonetheless they're cool to get. So overall, does look quite nice. So yeah, very interesting to see these X-Men figures. I never expected to actually get any movie X-Men Marvel Legends figures, and to see that we're getting them is exciting. And not to mention, they didn't just do they didn't just show Wolverine and be like, oh, we've got a Wolverine figure coming out. They hit us hard with almost an entire X-Men wave and an entire Deadpool wave of figures, which is super cool. So I'm very much excited for all of these, and I will be purchasing them all, even if they don't come with Build-A-Figure pieces. You know what? Actually, there's an exception to that. Teenage Warhead, I don't think I'd buy her unless she comes with a Build-A-Figure piece. But everybody else, I would definitely buy even without a Build-A-Figure piece, which is rare. For me, I like Build-A-Figures, and if they don't come with a Build-A-Figure piece, I'm much more likely to skip them. So this entire kind of assortment, I would buy Build-A-Figure piece or not, although I'm certainly crossing my fingers for Build-A-Figure pieces. And if there are Build-A-Figures, Sentinel and Juggernaut all the way. So let me know what you guys think of these new movie X-Men and Deadpool figures, and thanks so much for watching.